The words read right for those whose experience matches meaning. I wonder what they see and if it's beyond the wheelchair. I won't allow their expectation to rule my world. Each person defines self and what limitations we ourselves infect upon determination. Freedom is self imagining, being okay with who you are, where you are, for the time and pleasure of being there, here. Some wander to and fro, evading center, courting eternal dialogue as it distracts focus, courting vain entertainment, intrigue, occupying moment, day to day. Forced into meditation, disability has made me extremely aware the fragility of being awake with dream, trying to positively vibe world, share light along the way, live in harmony, aligned to the rhythms of the giant family. Our ancestors tried to imbue, through ritual and ceremony, sacredness in all moments, celebration in all being. Church is living ritual, momentous ecstasy and simple waking, eating, drinking, sleeping, and dreaming. I am is momentary prayer, stumbling through stillness, paralysis, and pain, seeking life's warm calm. I'm making the best of all I am and can be. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is FallenAngels.tv, and I thank you for taking the time to join me on this October 18th, 2014. It's 5:07 p.m., and I'm streaming out of East Coast, United States of America, near Athens, Georgia. And it is a glorious day outside. I hope that no matter where you are, that you're taking the time to drink a little bit of the beauty available in this just extremely beautiful and kind weather. The warmth of the sun, the calm zephyrs, enough to keep things cool. I don't know if the rose and stuff is still in bloom where you are, but we are still being blessed by all the blooming flowers that are surrounding my house, and it's just a glorious day, and I hope that all of you are taking time to just be blessed by the creation, by the awesomeness of existence, and being able to just be witness to the soft parade of all things unfolding before we move into the bitterness of winter. I know a lot of the listeners that come to the show and share fellowship with us are way up north, and I love the winter as well. It's just I don't handle it as well as I had prior to my disability. But I love sitting beside a fire and drinking hot cocoa, and so there's just blessing no matter where we are in the cycle of spring, summer, fall, winter, night and day, that we can celebrate. I'm just glad that as far as the insanity of a third global war and the plans for order out of chaos, and the death knell as far as the economy, even though I feel, that is all on the horizon and it's still yet coming. I'm grateful for every day of peace that we can embrace and that we can drink deeply from. And I pray that even though it's prophetic in nature, that the insanity is just has been planned, and that the New World Order is even in process now to instigate such nightmare scenario upon the American public as well as the world as a collective. I pray daily that we never have to experience or go through such insanity. And so, as long as we can, and I'm not, certainly worried about it, even though I know it will affect all of us in negativity, I still know that the Most High can protect us no matter where we are, and that as long as we are under His grace and under His wing of protection, that there's nothing to be worried about, and that even still, to die as martyr for the Father and the Son, and for the beliefs that we hold and share, and that we make a kingdom priority of the kingdom, that really there's no other better way to go out than to die for our beliefs. But still, I don't want any of us to have to experience the madness of the New World Order and the police state and the tyranny and the false flag terrorism, the all the craziness that they have planned. And so I daily just give thanks for another day of peace. And it does say within the word that there will be peace and then comes sudden destruction. And so it can be any day, any moment, and whenever that is and whenever that may be, it is what it is. But I do pray for all of you that you are all doing what you can to sin no more and to seek your remembrance and your role and your mission and in doing service to each other and one another. And I think that there is a lot of people waking up. I'm certainly seeing that and feeling that from the emails and from the interaction and the dialogue that people share with me, the commentary that I see on the different shows, the videos that I post on YouTube, and the response that I see in the chat rooms on not only this show but the others, especially on Revolution Radio, since we have so many more listeners there in that particular platform. But this evening I'm going to cover what would be, I believe, the final in the series that I've been doing on the voice of God and the expectations that, because I do feel that these parts of this text are inspired and that it's really like a voice of the divine in sharing with us how it is that we should be and what it is that we should seek with the opportunity that we have to be here in this world and having incarnated into the flesh. And I know that, like myself, many of you are ready, ready for a return to our first state, ready for a return home, and that you, like myself, feel stranger to this world, even though we recognize the beauty inherent within the creation, even though we are living through the dual nature and are forced to experience the pain that accompanies also the pleasure of being here, and that this reality exposes us to both heaven and hell, and to good and evil. But this is only for temporary time, and really we'll look back someday and recognize how short the span of our lifetimes were in our trips here into the flesh and being part of this third dimensional world. And so, one lifetime in the immortal journey of soul, as I say in some of my poems. But I shared in the last poem that I did, and also in a bit with this particular poem, how it is that we influence also the realities that we find, and also the people that we find that are daily interacting with us. And that, we can't necessarily determine who our family members are going to be, and the loved ones that we acquire from marriage, or even the children. But certainly we do determine who our friends and who our acquaintances will be, and that oftentimes people create negative outcomes and negative experiences for themselves just because we allow people that may not necessarily be beneficial to relating and to holding on to friendship with, but that we do so either out of habit or out of being afraid to hurt another's feelings or to change outcome, and that we make the same choices every day based out of habit of routine. And I know that a lot of you are, because I hear from many of you, and of course I'm not mentioning anybody by name, but I know many are having difficulty in dealing with just the world, and waking up daily to the life that we find ourselves embedded within. And that often it takes the same, if not more, as far as the energy to change an outcome and to create a new reality, to manifest something different, than it does to hold on to the chaos, the insanity that we find in our lives. And so if you are in such situation, that hopefully you will find the courage or even the wisdom to know that we are responsible for the insanity and the chaos that we find in our lives. And some of the text that I will be going over and that we will be covering in what will be the last part of this, the voice of God, it emphasizes that as a fact, and it calls it what would be the law of the universe, or the law of attraction, the law of energy, the way that how we reap what we sow, and how we put focus on, depending on our intent, how we are with our behaviors, our thoughts, our dreams, our wishes, our goals, that all of those things affect what manifests in our world and what really turns out to be the reality that we are living in and dealing with daily. And so I'm going to go ahead and get into the text, and then I'll stop and share commentary. But I think that you will be blessed by this. And I'm going to go ahead and read one paragraph that we ended the show with last time, because this was so relevant to the whole topic that I just laid out and the premise that I just laid out for you. It says this: I am not influenced by the mere formal actions of men or by empty sacrifices. Lighted lamps and candles, days of fasting and self-mortification by man cannot sway me in his favor. I am not to be bribed, for I am God. He who handles fire carelessly and gets burnt cannot blame the fire, neither can he who goes into swift waters and drowns blame the waters. There are laws, the violation of which brings retribution in its train. They who by their own deeds bring pain and suffering upon themselves cannot blame me for what ensues. These are the effects of the lesser laws, which are easily understood, but above these is the great law, which is not so incomprehensible. Under this, the link between the deed and its effect is not so apparent. Men bring down calamity and suffering upon their own heads and blame me when the fault lies with them and the cause is their own misconduct or misconception. Men reap as they sow, and I am the fertile field, which takes no part in the sowing or the reaping. Man is his own master and the Lord of his own destiny. He cannot expect help from any great power unless he himself expend effort to contact such power, or he be deserving of help. Everything a man is or becomes is the result of his own striving and efforts, or his lack of them. I made man to be a man, not a mere puppet or nursling. I am the God of the law. I am the God of the stalwart. Also want to make one comment here. The paragraph that you find in the description of this show is actually a part of what is the Book of Secrets. And I'm going to cover that in the very end. It's a very short book. It's part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I actually believe that the part that I quoted within this description is the most relevant. And as it is also a fragmented text, it's jumbled in meaning, and it's not clear as to what some of the parts are trying to share. And so that's another thing as far as that particular text. All right, continuing. Man is the heir to divinity, and the road to divinity is spirituality. Man cannot become spiritual except through his own efforts and striving. He cannot achieve it by being led by the hand or through fear of punishment, nor by greed through anticipation of a reward. He who enters into his heritage of divinity will be no weakling. He will have trodden a hard and stony path. Man has two ways of knowing me. He can know me through his own spiritual awakening, or through the continued revelation of moral law and divine purpose by my inspired servants. To know me through A spiritually awakened self is the way of certainty, but few can suffer its austerities and discipline. When the spirit of man is unawakened, he cannot know the great self within him, of which he is a part. Not knowing his true nature and unable to see clearly, he is blinded by material delusions. Would not the creature of the night, which never sees the sun, deem the moon to be the most brilliant light in the sky above? So it is with the man walking in the darkness of spiritual unconsciousness. He says, I am the body, and the body is my whole being. And in the delusion of that belief, he becomes ensnared in an existence bound to matter. Like the creatures bound to an existence in the night, which cannot know the glories of things flourishing in the brilliance of daylight, so it is with the men bound to the darkness of spiritual ignorance. As a shadow in the night is mistaken for an intruder, or a mirage is mistaken for a pool of clear water, so does the spiritually immature man mistake the material body for the whole living being. As the shimmering heat haze appears like solid water, so does the outer body appear as the whole being to the spiritually unawakened. As to a man in a moving boat, another boat lying still on the water will often appear to be moving, while he himself seems to remain still. So the unawakened spirit is deluded by appearances, seeing the mortal body as a whole being, when in fact the clouds are flying overhead. It appears as though the moon itself is speeding across the heavens. It is only the knowledge and experience we have of the skies above which tell us this cannot be the truth. Thus it is with the spiritually unawakened man, who in his ignorance thinks the mortal body is the whole being, and having no knowledge or experience of the spiritual region is deceived. In fact, all the beliefs of man which hold that the mortal body is the whole being are generated in the darkness of ignorance. A man may be wise in the ways of men, but completely ignorant and unaware of the higher, more glorious things which are revealed in the light of the Spirit. I want to make commentary here, because the world holds on to that we are nothing but our bodies, and that we are defined by who we are as determined by our bodies, our jobs, how much money we make, or who we are through our occupation or our careers or our education, when all this is really just an illusion and it's a facade. And the real, who we really are, is that aspect, the consciousness that indwells our being and that occupies our flesh form. And science, because they cannot grasp nor hold on to or verify scientifically through, the processes of the scientific method, they don't believe in a spirit. They don't believe in a soul that is outside of our flesh being. They believe that, dreams and visions are nothing more than the hallucinations of our mind, the hallucinations of our brain, and that all of that is something that we make up within the dreaming process. But yet, dreaming actually is verification that we are more than just our flesh bodies. Because that dreaming and the fact that our spiritual selves, our dreaming body, and that part of us that is not tied to the flesh, can go on to visit, to journey, and to voyage to other worlds, and to worlds which are not bound by the physical laws or the physical limits or the nature of our third dimensional world, and that we can go on to other places, or that we can receive prophetic message, or that we can see things that have happened in the past or will happen in the future, or that we can receive message from God, divinity, and other angelic beings through the medium of our dreams, is just, in my mind, verification that we are more than just our flesh bodies and our flesh form, and that really the body is nothing more than armor of soul, and that which we occupy for this lifetime, and that our immortal nature, our spiritual being, that part of us that has an eternal inheritance outside of just this flesh and this lifetime, that aspect of us was before we were in our bodies and our flesh, and before we were born into this lifetime and into this world. That part of us, that spiritual nature, pre-existed our bodies in our lifetimes in this flesh form. And that's also why it says in Jeremiah, when the word of the Lord is talking to Jeremiah and tells him that I knew you before you came, that before you were in the womb of your mother, and I had foreordained you to be a prophet unto the nations in this lifetime and in this flesh form. It's the same kind of thing. That passage and that knowledge extends to all of us. We were all known by the Father and the Son before coming into our flesh embodiments, before we were in this second world age. And that's what we are aspiring to as far as a return to our first estate. All right, continuing. Ask yourselves, what am I? What is real within myself? What comprises the whole man? Can it be that I am truly no more than this fleshly thing? The petty, immature, unstable being, balanced between futile, unearthly ideas, akin to something divine and glorious, from which source alone could have come the ideas and virtues which transcend the mundane needs of earthly existence? Ask yourselves in the solitudes, and perchance you will not go unanswered. I am the God of silence. The words of men are inadequate to express just what man really is. The knowledge of his true nature is beyond the understanding of the unawakened spirit. The inheritance within the grasp of man is without limitation, for it is the totality of all things. Man has not been misled in the hope and belief that the seemingly mortal is in fact immortal. The Spirit does not mislead men. They are deceived by their own eyes. They are misled, so they are unable to see things as they are in reality. All that men see and experience throughout earthly existence is veiled in illusion. Man may think his eyes reveal things as they are, but no mortal eye has ever beheld a thing as it actually is. It appears to man through the color distorting glass of his own mortality. Spiritually, men as a whole are little different from the madman who builds himself a kingdom from the fabric of his imagination. The flowing life existence about him is seen as a distorted image, a distortion which his own defects have imparted to it. Yet it was meant to be thus, for man is surrounded by the conditions meet for him. It is for man to discover why this is so, and in discovering, he will find himself. I am the truth. I am the reality. A couple more paragraphs and then I'll check the chat room and I'll also make commentary. This earthly life which I have given you should not be viewed in this minute aspect, but in the light of infinitude. All the suffering and disillusionment, the futility, the forlorn hopes and wasted efforts, the oppressions and injustices are not without a purpose. That purpose is beyond anything man can understand, and infinitely greater than his conception can grasp. The truly awakened man alone among men can have any insight into life's end and goal. These are divine things, yet they can be set down only in the mere words of men, and will thus be reduced to things of mortal frailty. Mere words will be read, and the pattern formed by them will be far short of truth and reality. The taste of a fruit or the fragrance of a flower could not be known by reading about them. The fruit must be eaten and the flower smelt. Only in union with me, spirit communicating with spirit, can proof of my reality be found. Yet because things are as they are, truth must ever be veiled from man as man. But who would labor if laborers were paid whether they worked or not? Were they revealed to him, the ignorant man would not comprehend great things. Therefore the light is not for him. The insincere and shallow seeker after diversion and pleasure will find little entertainment in these words. The really illuminated man will already know something of the truth and will therefore seek it more diligently along a higher path. And so these words are given just for those sincere seekers who are aware of their own shortcomings and ignorance. These will be people whose thoughts are not smothered by prejudice, who are not set in their own opinions. For who among men is his most confirmed in his opinions? Who states things in the most assertive manner and talks with the loudest voice? Is it not the most ignorant? I will not let the sincere seeker go unguided. I am the light on the path. Last paragraph and then commentary. Well do I know the hearts of men. They ever seek to deceive themselves. They clearly see the errors and follies of others, but are blind to their own. There are those whose idea of righteousness is mumbled words and repetitious prayers. Their souls are warped with selfish desires, and their heaven is the fulfillment of these. Their prayers are pleas for pleasure or power, for freedom from the things which develop the spirit. The lovers of pleasure and power delight in following the path of their own inclinations. They build a creed of their own desires. They have neither courage nor the will to follow a sterner and true path. Avoid the companionship of such as these, setting your heart upon the task in hand rather than the reward. I am the knower. I am the rewarder. Alright, let me check the chat room first. And of course, if you have any questions, just post them and I'll try to get to them. But anyways, the world is full of those that seek the carnal aspects of it. As it says within the word that friendship with the world is enmity with God, that even in Revelation where it talks about the Laodicean church and those that are of the lukewarm, the middle ground, that are caught up in the pleasures and the comforts of this world, and that because they are comfortable in their existence and that they are fulfilled by the pleasures of this carnal world, that they seek nothing deeper, that they do not question as to the relevancy of their belief systems and to the reasons for who they are, why they're here, and what really all of this is about. That most are completely satisfied with the distractions and the entertainments of this world. And even in the protocols of the learned elders of Lucifer, it talks about how they would create amusements and distractions to keep people pleasured. Even in Roman times with the Colosseums and the gladiators and the horse races and even with the Olympics, this was the reason for some of those things. And we see now, even in the lives that we live, how much sports or shows in movies and even those simple things, celebrity lives, and the broadcasts and the magazines and the shows and the radio shows that are all focused on the glamour of the lives of these celebrities, and how much effort is put forth by people to follow the lives of some of these individuals just because they're seeking, the Cinderella story, the fairy tale, and that they are so bored with their own lives and so disenchanted and unfulfilled by their own lives and by the realities that they live, that they seek to, like parasites, like vampires, to steal some joy, some fulfillment, some pleasure from the realities of others and for the lives that other people live. And there's so much of that. It's so Just like with the royals in England and how much the paparazzi follows them, and how the movie stars here in America are treated like such royalty, and how people spend so much time and so much effort to keep up with what's going on in Hollywood, or what's happening in this person's life or that person's life, and they are attempting to find happiness and joy and fulfillment from these kind of things. And in truth, those things are all just mere illusion. They're ghosts. That really, the only thing that is real is that which is connected to our eternal inheritance, salvation through Christ, coming to know who we are as creature, coming to know our Creator, and understanding the creation and what all of this really is about. And really, how many people even really care? Most people do not, and they have no consideration for anything outside of, what's on TV, the next show, or their jobs, or how much money they're making, or the things of this world. And I fully understand as far as doing what we can to survive, and that often education or career, that it is essential and it helps with easing and assisting in that regard. But that's not all of it, in that we are all born with an innate desire, an inherent longing to want to know more and to entertain and come to discernment on the larger questions for why we are here, who we are, and where we're going. But most people will ignore this aspect of self, will ignore these larger questions, being content to be fulfilled by, again, the carnal aspects of this world. And they'll spend their whole lifetime running around in circles, running to stand still, evading anything which has to do with the kingdom, and to anything that is larger and outside of the distractions and the entertainments of this life. And that's the sad thing, and that's also why the elect, and why the those that really know, the keepers of the secrets, the wisdom keepers, why they are so few. Because there are very few that really give themselves to really finding out what all of this is about. And that having found out, that go seeking and put forth all their effort to coming to realization and remembrance on these things, that dedicate themselves to living, that truly being born again, are living for salvation and an eternal inheritance that would include everlasting life. And I know it's a difficult struggle, in that it takes all of our effort, all of our focus, the complete focus of our who we are as spiritual beings. But really, this is all that is real. And this is all that is really important. All right, so continuing. If a man fixes his attention wholly upon one goal or one thing for his own selfish purpose, as if it were an independent, all unrelated to others thing, then he moves in darkness of ignorance. If he undertakes a task with a confused mind, not considering the outcome or where it will lead him, or the harm it may do to others or himself, then it is an undertaking of evil. There is a wisdom which knows when to go and when to stay, when to speak and when to remain silent, what is to be done and what is to be left undone. It knows, too, the limitations set by fear and by courage, what constitutes bondage and what freedom. This is the wisdom I have placed at the disposal of man, if he would but seek it, the true wisdom of the Spirit. Opposed to this clear-sighted wisdom is the false man-made wisdom, obscured by the darkness arising from delusion. Here wrong is thought to be right, and error passes as truth. Things are thought to be what they are not. The unenlightened men dwelling in comfortable darkness, unperturbed by the challenge of reality, as revealed by the light of truth, lack any understanding of true values. That which appears to them to be no more than a cup of sorrow is in fact a chalice filled with the wine of immortality. The vain pleasures that come from pandering to the carnal cravings of the senses appear at first to be a cup of sweetness, but in the end it is found to hold the brew of bitterness. He who does right does it not for me, but for himself. He is the one who benefits, not his God. He who does wrong inflicts himself for it, and he is the sufferer. He who does right does it to his own good, and he who works wickedness does it to his own hurt. It could not be possible in a just creation that those whose ways are evil should be dealt with as those who live goodly lives and perform good deeds. The fate of the selfish and that of the unselfish could not be alike. I am the God of justice, the maker of the law. One second. The spirit of man has the potential for doing all things. It can even rise above earthly limitations. The awakened soul can do whatsoever it wills. Man makes the environment for his own development. As it is now, so countless wills from the past have fashioned it. When the body awakens in the morning, it is like a man entering his habitation. It becomes a place of awareness. The soul becomes active in matter. That with which you hear, taste, smell, and feel is the soul. Physically, the ear of a dead man is still in perfect condition for hearing, but the hearer, the interpreter, has gone. The eyes of a corpse are not blinded, but that which operated them is no longer there. So long as the soul looks outward only into the deceptive environment of matter and is satisfied with the material pleasures it finds there, and which its baser body finds compatible, it remains cut off from the greater realm of the spirit. It binds itself to matter, failing to find the greater pleasures, always there in the silent depths of its being. Confirmed in his attitude by experiences in a deceptive environment, mortal man becomes convinced that all desirable things lie outside of himself. He concludes that satisfaction comes from gaining the things which promote material welfare. This is the folly of the unbalanced man. However, balance is the key word, for it is equally foolish to turn away from material things altogether. Man is made of earthly things because it is intended that he should live and express himself on earth. It is also intended that he should discover his nature through earthly conditions and experiences. This is what we were talking about as far as having a foot in both worlds and not being only spiritually minded and only focused on the kingdom, but living also with balance in the physical, that we have to honor our physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, in all aspects of being, that we must cater to all of those things which make up who we truly are, not just one, and not just place emphasis on one, but that to overindulge in just the physical, or to ignore the physical for only the spiritual, it's a folly unto us, because we will be lacking in some way, and that this will affect us again emotionally and mentally. That we have to hold balance in regard to who we are in order to manage and to make it. That we have to take care of ourselves, living in the matrix of, even though we know it's an illusion, and that the whole matrix of, getting an education and getting a good job, all that is not our real reasons for being here. It's still part of the process, and that we have to contend and deal with that part of the journey in order to manage and make it, and to find well-being for the other aspects of self. However, the divine spark must kindle the spirit. It must not be smothered. Balance is the idea, the whole becoming neither wholly inward nor outwardly oriented. Man needs his body and must not repudiate it. And if it requires man's labor to sustain it, then is not man entitled to enjoy its pleasures? Here also it is simply a matter of proper balance. Man lives in a sea of material manifestation where I am only indirectly reflected, as the soul of man is indirectly reflected in his body. If a man sees with nothing but the eyes of the body, then he cannot perceive me, for I am beyond his vision. I am the God veiled behind matter. I am the God of the Spirit. Yet there is a vision possible to man which pierces the universal veil, a vision free from all obscurity, a vision uncontaminated by the dark shadows of base desires or fear, by unstable emotions or unworthy motives. It is the vision seen when man develops a new faculty, a new sense. It is an inward vision of splendor. A wave of spiritual light will engulf him. A mysterious power, indescribable in mere words, sweeps like a shooting star over the expanse of his spirit, giving a sudden illuminating flash which floods his whole inner being, his soul, with a glorious light. In its brilliance, he is granted for a brief moment in time a glimpse of the vision of the splendid. He is then united with the living heart of the universe by a bond reaching out to infinity. Nothing known to man, no symbols of his conception, can express the joyousness which floods his whole being. It can be experienced in quiet tranquility of spirit. It can burst all the bonds of restraint, expressing itself in all-embracing, overwhelming feeling of love, lost in an unfathomable sea of silent contemplation. The body will shine with radiance from the inner light, and all about will be bathed in a luminous spiritual glow. Having once been in divine communication, these awakened spirits know a joy supreme, and never again do they walk through the veil of mortal sorrows. The truly awakened soul is beyond carnal lust and mortal grief. His love is alike for all. My creation, and thus he shows supreme love for me. By this love alone he knows me in truth, who and what I am, and knowing me in truth he participates in my whole being. Those who seek union with me must first prepare a dwelling place for me in their hearts. But those who are not pure, those who do not fight for me, those who have not suffered under the discipline of love, and those without wisdom cannot attain union, no matter how much they strive. I am the God of illumination. I am the God of enlightenment. All right, we're almost through this particular part. And then I'm going to cover just a little bit of the Spirit of God. And then we'll share commentary and end in prayer. I know that some of this information seems to be deeper in aspect and more profound than what a lot of people will be able to grasp. I know that many of you are advanced seekers as well, and that a lot of this material will resonate with you, and that my hope in reading it and sharing it with you is that it will encourage you and reinforce those of you that have made and are focused on remembrance and who you really are, to continue in your journey and in your making a priority of life and being in such way. Because it's easy to get lost on the journey, to get caught up in all the things of this world. And it's also because there are not many that are living in such way, and that really the whole world does not want you to hold any kind of importance upon spirituality, that they want you to be shallow and non-introspective and okay with just being like everybody else, to be completely occupied by those things which everybody else finds enjoyment from. And it's easy to want to get along, to go along, to get along, because that's where, we have more friends and more fun and more just, I guess it's an easier way of being. It's not difficult to live and to be like everybody else, to be like the cattle or one of the crowd. And it's a lot more difficult to place emphasis on those things which most people care nothing about and have no consideration for. And that it's certainly easier to be able to share conversation and hold dialogue with, the people that are in our lives and even friends and family members, because so many don't care anything for the kingdom or making a priority of understanding the gospel and of trying to understand the secrets that are contained within, the things that Christ said, I will utter secrets which have been hidden since the foundation of the world. And to understand about the New World Order and truth, and to be able to tie these strange aspects and nature of reality to understanding all of the ancient mysteries and the mythology, even childhood fantasy and fairy tale, and those things which make no sense to most others. But myself, because I've had such a longing and such an inherent drive to want to know all these things, I'm strangely weird in such aspect, and I know that a lot of you are similar in that way to myself, and that we can't just settle. We can't just be okay with the way, how everybody else is, or the way they are. That we want to know more and different. And so that's why it's such a beautiful thing to be able to fellowship with you and to share with those of you in the way that we do. Because I feel like I'm not alone, and on this journey, it's very easy to be caught up in such feeling. But at least we found each other. It's a beautiful thing. All right, continuing. Would you know the ultimate state of man when he has finally reached his goal? When he has entered into his inheritance of divinity? It is a state of glory transcending anything conceivable by him during an earthbound existence. His consciousness expands to embrace everything, all that ever was or will be. He sees all, he knows all, he is in all, and he contains all. These things come to him through infinite powers of perception, yet he is above all such powers. He is beyond all within all. He is beyond the realm of matter, freed from all restrictions, yet he is not denied its joys, and may, if he so desires, manifest in matter. His thoughts have the power of creation. He is one with the light of lights, the light transcending vision. He is the partaker of my substance, my son in eternity, the inheritor of everlasting life. I am your God, the Father of man. All right, just a few paragraphs of this. The Spirit of God, which this is chapter 16 of the Coleman Bible. I'm only going to read what I can. I'm not going to do a follow-up on this. It says, I am the immortality latent in all things mortal, the light filling all things with radiance, the power holding all things to their form. I am the pure, invulnerable stream untouchable by evil, the supreme fountainhead of thoughts, the unfailing well of consciousness, the light of eternity. I am that to which the soul of man is related. I am its power, its life, its strength. I am that to which it responds. I am the sweet coolness in refreshing waters and the comforting warmth in the sun. I am the calmness of peace in the radiance of the moon and the delicacy in the moonbeam. I am the sound heard in the stillness, the companionship felt in the solitude, and the stirring in the hearts of men. I am the cheerfulness in the laugh of a youth, and the gentleness in the sigh of a maiden. I am the joy in the life of all living things, and the content in the hearts of awakened souls. I am the beauty in the beautiful, and the fragrance in the fragrant. I am the sweetness in honey, and the scent in perfume. I am the power in the strong arm, and the wistfulness in a smile. I am the urge in good and moderate desires. I am the gaiety in gladness, the restlessness in life, the refreshment in sleep. Yet though I am all these, I am not contained in them, and they are in me rather than I am in them. How pitiful are the words of men to depict sublime things. With the souls of men asleep and wrapped in clouds of delusion, how can I be known to them? I am the supreme, the eternal of God and from God, yet not God. As heat to fire, as fragrance to flowers, as light to a lamp, so am I to God. I am the power of God operating in matter. I am the first created of creation. I am the eternal thread upon which all creation is strung. I am the effective thought of God. I am that brought forth by his creating command, wherein All things share life. I am the Lord from holding all things together. I am the Lord of forms holding all things together. I am the power giving form. I am the comforting companion of the way. I am that which gives substance to the hopes and desires of men. Think of me, therefore, in any way you will. I am the companionable one, the comforter. I am the waters of inspiration springing from the eternal fount. I am the glory of love shining forth from the central sun. I am in all things. Alright, just a couple paragraphs here and then we'll end with commentary. I am the root of the tree of life, the words written in the book of God. I am the guardian of knowledge, the wisdom of the soul. I am the harmonizer of sound, the controller of power, the keeper of matter, and the sustainer of shapes. I unroll the scroll of time and record its changes. I am the reader of the past and present, the scribe of change, the chooser of chance. I am victory and the struggle for victory, but I am more. I am that which defeats defeat, for I am the victory in defeat. I am the goodness of those who are good, but I am more, for I am the success that arises out of failure. I am the achievement remaining when all else has gone. I am the sublime veiling secret mysteries. I am the guardian who jealously discloses hidden things. I am the knowledge of the knower. I am the seed within the seed from which all things spring. I am the bricks of which all things are built. I am more. I am the clay and water within the bricks. I am the motion in all things that move. Without me, there is no movement. I am the stability in all things stable. Without me, nothing holds to its shape. I am the craftsman with innumerable shapes, the artist with countless colors. My labors are outside the knowledge of men, my works beyond their sight. My masterpieces will never be seen by mortal eyes. That which abides in breath and yet is other than breath, which breath itself cannot know or influence, which controls it from within itself, that am I. That which is behind the voice, which voice itself cannot know or influence, which controls it from behind itself, that am I. That which is in the eye yet is other than the eye, which the eye itself cannot know or influence, which controls it from within, that am I. Yet this you must know. I am not you, nor are you me, though I abide in you, as you abide in me. Let wisdom disentangle these feeble words, set down through the hands of mortal men. The glory that shines from the Lord of the day, the gentle gleam radiating from the mistress of the night, the comforting glow from the hearth fire, all these are of my substance. I penetrate earth with love. I raise up the seed. I am the breath with the breath of all living things. I am the sweet scent of flowers and the bitter tang of vinegar. I am the differentiating essence in all things. All right, last couple things here. I am the sleeper awakened from slumber. I am the seed of life eternal. I am the everlasting hope of man. I am the shoot of the Spirit divine. I am the soul. I have been since the beginning of time and shall be forever. I am the design interwoven in the warp and the weft of creation. I am the indestructible essence of life. I am the treasure chest of man's hopes and aspirations, the storehouse of lost loves and fulfilled dreams. Before time, I was an unconscious spirit potential united with the supreme all. Ever since time began, I was in the slumbering sea of spirit, waiting to be drawn forth into separate mortal incarnation. Now, though the mortal body enwrapping me fall apart and decay, I remain everlasting and immortal. Through all the ebb and flow of life, whatever destiny decrees, I remain the everlasting jewel of ages, invisible to mortal eyes and untouchable to mortal hands. I am the eternal bride of mortal men, ever waiting the awakening kiss, the whisper of recognition. O being of flesh, deny me not. Let me not dwell in forgotten solitude, left alone, unwanted and unheeded. Hold me to you as a lover holds the beloved. Reach out beyond earthly things and kiss the lips that are yours eternally. Look out beyond the sphere of earthly opposites, out beyond the pettiness of gains and possessions. Grasp and possess me, your own everlasting and responsive soul. You will not find me where emotional tempests rage, or wild sensual storms bring turmoil and disquiet. First subdue these, for I await beyond, in the quietness of calm waters. I must be sought as a lover seeks the loved one, in solitude and quietness and tranquility. Only there will I respond to the awakening kiss of recognition. Do not neglect me, O my beloved, or tarnish me, for I come to you as an inestimable treasure. I bring beauty and innocence, gaiety and wholesomeness, decency and consideration, a jewel of potential perfection. Do not drag me down with you into the demon-haunted regions of darkness and terror. I am yours, closer to you than any loved one of earth. If you spurn me, I go down to a terrible doom and darkness, there to be purged and purified from the corruption of your touch. The best I can then hope for is to be bestowed upon another. I am the sublime vehicle awaiting the command to bear your true self to its destiny of glory. Could anyone be so foolhardily as not to cherish me? Without moving, I am swifter than thought. On celestial wings, I far outstrip the range of mortal senses. I drink at the fountain of life and feed on the fruits of eternal energy. What are you, my beloved, but a passing thing fashioned of clay, a handful of dust given life by a spark from the everlasting flame? I myself am no more than potential, yet together we are so great that earth of itself alone cannot contain us. We transcend it to reach out into the spheres of divinity. Take me, awaken me, acknowledge me, cherish me, and I will carry you to the realms of glory unimaginable on earth. Last paragraph, I'm going to end with this. I am the imprisoned captive longing for return to the freedom of the infinite. Yet because of my mortal love, I feel heart pangs of sorrow for things that pass away. But I know that beyond the pains inseparable from a sojourn in the vale of tears, there shines a glorious rainbow of hope and joy. There is a place of abiding love centered on the infinite. There, if you will but cherish me, we shall not be denied expression. I am drawn by the law of spiritual gravitation towards union with the universal soul, and can no more escape return there than the mortal elements of man can escape their return to dust. Man sees glory by the reflected light of glory within him. He knows love by the love within himself. The sun is seen by the light of the sun, and not by any light within man. Man sees the Spirit by the light of the Spirit, and not by any light within his mortal self. Only by the light of the Spirit can the spirit of man be lit. I am at peace when awakened to communion with my God. I am joyful when enthroned in consciousness, and when endowed with wisdom and vision transcending that of earth. I delight in communion with the greatest sphere with which I am akin. I rejoice in union with the divine spirit from whence I came. I am your own true self, which should be forever cherished. By listening to my whispers, by letting your thoughts dwell on me, and by knowing me, the whole glory of the greater spheres is opened unto you. There's more, but I'm not going to read it. I want to have time for final commentary. I just want to say that even though we are our bodies and that we use this flesh form as the vehicle for this lifetime, and that it is through this flesh form that we are able to utilize our senses, and that we are able to aspire to greatness and to come to know self in what is our immortal spiritual aspect of who we truly are. To not only focus on the flesh, but to honor our spirit and to seek, as Christ said, the kingdom within. Because that kingdom within is our spirit, is our immortal self, the connecting link to our Creator. It is that part of us which gives our body life and being, gives consciousness to who we are, that gives us the possibility of contemplation, of imagination, of holding and pondering, of wondering at the awesomeness of existence. And with that, I'm going to just pray that the Father and the Son bless all of you, keep you and your children safe, watch over all of us, and keep us under their wing and grace of protection, and that we are all led to a discernment which includes being able to grasp and understand the real reasons for why we are here, who we are, and what all of this is about. In Yahushua, Yahuwah's name, I pray. Until next week, friends, God bless all. And I'm not actually going to end with song, but just leave with this prayer and ask you to join me next week as we finish up on all the discernment on the Ebola crisis. God bless all. Good night.